It was an important day in the yard. Everyone was busy and excited, making notes and taking photographs. A special visitor had arrived and was now the centre of attention. Who's that? That is a celebrity, a very famous engine.
Good morning, everybody. This is the TSMU fan here, and today I'm making a video to share with you my experience of seeing the biggest steam engine ever built, the Union Pacific Big Boy numbered 4014. Now, if for some reason you've never heard of this engine, allow me to give you a brief history lesson. The Union Pacific Big Boy is a 4884 articulated steam locomotive manufactured by the American Locomotive Company, otherwise known as ALCO, in Schenectady, New York between 1941 and 1944. They were the only locomotives to use a 4884 wheel arrangement. 4-wheel leading truck for stability entering curves, 2 sets of 8 driving wheels, and a 4-wheel trailing truck to support the large firebox. These engines are 133 feet long and weigh a whopping 1.2 million pounds. You might have noticed the words Big Boy written on the smoke box door of the 4014, and this has an interesting story behind it. Back when the engines were first built, the employees were trying to come up with a name for the class when an unnamed employee climbed up on the front of the first of the class, 4000, and wrote Big Boy in chalk on the smoke box, and this ended up becoming the official designation for these locomotives. A fitting name, considering their immense size and weight. 25 of these massive beasts, numbered from 4000 to 4024, were built to haul heavy equipment in support of the war effort over the Wasatch Range between Ogden, Utah, and Green River, Wyoming, the first of which being delivered in 1941. In the late 1940s, they were reassigned to Cheyenne, Wyoming, where they hauled freight over Sherman Hill to Laramie, Wyoming. Of the original 25 engines built, only 8 are preserved, with 4014 being the only of the class currently in steam today. The other big boys that are preserved on static display include 4004 at Holiday Park in Cheyenne, Wyoming, 4005 at the Forney Museum of Transportation in Denver, Colorado, 4006 at the Museum of Transportation in St. Louis, Missouri, 4012 at the Steamtown National Historic Site in Scranton, Pennsylvania, 4017 at the National Railroad Museum in Green Bay, Wisconsin, 4018 at the Museum of the American Railroad in Frisco, Texas, and finally 4023 at Kennefic Park in Omaha, Nebraska. As for 4014, ALCO built this engine in November 1941 at a cost of $265,174 and delivered it the following month to UP, which placed it in revenue service to haul heavy freight trains in the Wasatch Mountain Range. The big boys routinely pulled freight trains of up to 4,200 short tons, and during a test on April 2, 1943, 4014 pulled 65 freight cars between Ogden, Utah, and Evanston, Wyoming, generating a maximum of 5,530 horsepower. The locomotive completed its final revenue run on July 21st, 1959, just hours before the last revenue run by any big boy, having traveled a total of 1,031,205 miles during its revenue service. UP retired 4014 on December 7, 1961, and all of the remaining big boys were retired by 1962, when their duties were taken over by diesel locomotives and gas turbine electric locomotives. That same year, Union Pacific donated 4014 to the Southern California chapter of the Railway and Locomotive Historical Society in Pomona, California, where it would sit on static display. It didn't stay this way forever, though. In late 2012, Union Pacific officials announced that they are about to obtain a big boy locomotive for restoration to operational condition for excursion services. On July 23, 2013, they announced that the Southern California chapter of the Railway and Locomotive Historical Society had agreed to return 4014 to working order. UP Heritage Fleet Operations Senior Manager Ed Dickens led the project, and on November 14th of that year, Dickens and his team prepared 4014 for its journey to the UP Steam Shop in Cheyenne. They had it towed out from its display site at the museum on temporary track, with it taking 4 days to get the engine through the adjacent parking lot. In August 2016, UP officials announced that the restoration work of 4014 had begun under Dickens' supervision. By early 2017, the locomotive had been completely disassembled. Some new parts were fabricated for it, and the driving wheels were even sent to be repaired by the Strasburg Railroad in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, the same railroad which is the home of the Strasburg Thomas. The restoration work for 4014 included one major alteration, converting the coal-burning locomotive to run on oil. This was done by replacing the firebox grates with a fire pan and an oil burner, making 4014 the first big boy to undergo a coal-to-oil conversion since 4005, which ran on oil from 1946 until it was converted back to coal in 1948. 4014's old firebox grates weren't disused, however. They ended up being salvaged and used on the Milwaukee Road 261 steam locomotive. 4014 returned to service in May 2019 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad's completion, regaining the title as the largest and most powerful operational steam locomotive in the world. So now that the history session is over, let me give you some history as to how I got to see this giant for myself. So for America's 250th anniversary, the engine made a trek to the East Coast for the first time as part of a historic coast-to-coast tour. This tour included a 4th of July celebration in Philadelphia, major display events in 8 cities, and more than 50 whistle stops in 10 states, including stops for the first time in Indiana, Ohio, New York, and Pennsylvania. I found out about this event from one of my online friends, who notified me that the engine would be making its way into areas that are close to where I live. We decided to catch the engine as it would be making its way through Fostoria, Ohio, and scoped out several different railroad crossings so I could decide on which one looked the best. I eventually decided on this one, with very few trees and a perfect view of the engine. Some of my family members came with me too, and on June 6, 2026, I saw the 4014 for the first time. This thing was so loud as it was passing by the camera, and I just couldn't believe how massive it was seeing it in person. The second time I saw the engine was when it was stopped at the Norfolk Southern Fostoria Automotive Distribution Center for the night on July 14th, 2026. It was paired with 5 other diesel engines, painted in special paint jobs to celebrate the 250th anniversary. There was even a display where you could go inside one of the passenger cars and see lots of history regarding the Union Pacific Railroad, which was just so fascinating. After I got my photos and pictures of the engine, we ended up leaving, as it was already starting to get very hot, and we weren't going to stay there for the whole day. I am a little disappointed we left early though, as I found out later from a friend of mine that Ed Dickens himself appeared at the event answering people's questions and such from the cab of the locomotive. It would have been nice to meet him and ask him a question, but I'm just glad that I got to see the engine itself. Seeing this massive engine up close and personal was truly breathtaking, and I am so happy that this engine is still around today for people to witness. It truly is a master of engineering, and I think it's safe to say that there will never be another engine quite like it. Well, except for the Allegheny and the Blue Ridge class engines. But that's another story. Well guys, I think that's really all that I have to say about my trip to see the big boy. This was a fun, different sort of video documenting my experience with a real engine, and I would definitely love to make another video like this. One will definitely get made if I end up traveling to the UK, that's for sure. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to share your own experience with seeing this engine in the comments. And if I have inspired you to go and see this engine itself, then I must give you a quick word of warning. This should go without saying, but if you are out to catch the train, please stay off the tracks. Remember, stop, look, and listen. Anyways, with that public service announcement out of the way, that'll be it for this video. I really hope that all of you watching enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel a lot. And if you would like to show your support in a different way, consider pledging to my Patreon, where you can get exclusive benefits such as early access to new videos, behind the scenes looks into how my videos get made, and a shout out from me where I read off your online name of choice at the end of every new video. Link is in the description if you would like to show your support. Anyways, that's all from me, so I'm gonna end this video here. Thanks for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this one. This is the TSMU fan, signing out.